Okay, everyone, third attempt to go live. I hope we have the sound issues fixed, we have the title fixed, we have the language fixed. I'm so sorry. I want to talk about 3 lessons learned from the SaveDroid debacle. If you're coming into our lives here, then do me a quick favor. Let me know where you're coming in from. It's always interesting to see and hear that. And then I can really share and go through these various different points. I think they're actually quite relevant and quite important, because I personally think it's always quite silly and stupid to not learn from mistakes that other people might be doing, but only kind of rely on that you yourself know all these things. So I'm a big believer in avoiding mistakes that you can learn from others. And that's what we're trying to do here. I don't want to as much judge what SaveDroid and their entire team did. I really want to talk more about lessons to be learned. If I would have to do this for my own company, if I would ever do this for the future, what would be things that I would kind of consider or do better, right? And I think these are things that are quite relevant in this entire process. And these are the things that actually bring value to each and every one of us. So when we go into all these things, please consider this. I'm not trying to bash anyone. I'm not trying to hype anything. I think this is really important. And one of the reasons I didn't go and commented straight away on all this was very simply because I wanted to wait and kind of let a little bit of the dust settle so that I can really comment and kind of draw my own conclusions from this at a later stage. So what are the 3 lessons that I personally learned, lessons that I would love to do for the future and going forward? And I think these are quite some relevant and interesting things in all that. So let's talk about all that and go into those individual different things. Lesson number 1, and that's a really important one. You need to understand with a marketing or some PR gag what you actually want to achieve with this. And for those that kind of missed what happened or what was been going on, SaveDroid is this German company. They collected around $50 million from their ICO, and it's been quite a challenge before, but then they went offline, I think it was on Wednesday, for an entire day and told people, we are going offline, we are gone. There was pictures posted on Twitter with a beer and thanks guys, hey, it was so much fun, you know, kind of making an exit scam. And it went all over the news and everyone was talking about it. So like from a PR perspective, I mean, they got all the attention potentially that they could have. But here's the question. Is this the kind of attention that you wanted to have as a company? I mean, if I personally, we are in a fintech company as well. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get PR attention for what I'm trying to stand for. At least that's what I'm trying to do, right? I don't want to go the opposite route, because at the end of the day, and you can look it up on the media, all the media is talking about the scam, them leaving. Very few media, especially the large ones, actually covered that this was a PR gag. It was mostly the crypto media that talked about that. The rest of the media talked about him or her or them running away with the money. So that is something that's really, really relevant. So what is the intention of all that? If you look at, and this was quoted, and I think these are really, really bad comparisons. If you look at Richard Branson's PR gags, he constantly created PR that was very targeted on what he stood for and what he wanted. So he talked, I mean, he did a lot of fun things, he did a lot of crazy things. These are all things that he stood for. But he never did that in an environment where it was about finance and fintech, right? So this is really, really important. People talked about Elon Musk having an April Fool's joke about Tesla going bankrupt. This is because there was these very clear allegations of Tesla not being profitable, and he did it on April 1st. It was obvious to everyone that this was a PR or like some joke on April Fool's Day, right? It was, I mean, of course, there's always some people who don't know, but if you look at the press, there was not really anyone who picked this up and kind of took this serious, right? So this is the important thing, and I'm not sure if SaveDroid and their team considered this well enough. It's very difficult to create positive PR on something that relieves very negative emotions, even though I think they're right. I think they're 100% right in that a lot of stuff is wrong in the crypto ecosystem and a lot of things are not going well in the ecosystem. And there should be some certain regulations. I think they're 100% right. But many times it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And you can see this with so many things. And so this is something where there's a huge lesson learned for me, and I hope for you as well. So I think this is kind of the first thing. The second lesson that's really important in this is that you have to stay super flexible if you're running such a PR gag. Like, you can have a certain structure and you can have a certain plan, but you need to be super flexible about this. And this is something that I'm not sure if they were, because in my opinion, if I look at the entire thing and on Wednesday it lists like everything is down, everything is gone, I wouldn't have waited until Thursday morning until I kind of undo everything. I probably would have waited until the major press outlets come in and talk about it. And then I go in there because that kind of builds on top of the hype, and then it's going to go crazy. And then maybe people will still see it a bit more positive. So I think, personally, I would have probably come out a lot earlier undoing it, because then, you know, I mean, seriously, I mean, look, there's people who commented, man, a friend of mine committed suicide because he lost all his money. Now, personally, I don't think this is true. But just think about the consequences of this. Think about, I mean, and we don't know these things. Think about, there's someone who now goes out and says, hey, listen, there's this guy, he committed suicide because he lost $100,000 in your ICO. Is this really the up and downside that you want to have for a company? And we all know that we as humans have the biggest fears at night. We lie in bed and we can't sleep. We can't sleep because I just lost $100,000 in this ICO. Man, what is my wife going to do? What's my children going to do? I mean, of course, you should never invest so much money in ICO if you don't have that money. But put that aside. Think about the responsibility that you as a business owner have for an entire group of people. And I'm personally not 100% sure if this was the right move to stay stiff on the plan, or should they have been way more nimble and kind of adapting along the way. If you do something that no one has done before, you need to be super flexible. And I really am not sure if this is what they have done well in this case. Let's talk about the third lesson. And the third lesson is a bit of the upside. The upside on this is that I think it's way too early right now to judge whether it was a success or not a success. So this is a really huge lesson, because the other two things are things that I would have done better had I to do it, right? But still, we can't judge it today. It's 2 days afterwards, or 1 day after they kind of release all this. The real kind of effects will only show up in 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe in a year's time. And that's going to be the question. How will people 3 months afterwards look back on what happened? Will they only remember SaveDroid, and will SaveDroid be able to turn their name and brand around? Because right now, I wouldn't want to own this brand because it's a nightmare at the moment. But you can turn attention quite well around, right? I'm a big basketball fan. And Kobe Bryant, one of the best basketball players in NBA history, in his very last game, he scored 81 points, which is the best ever to score in a game, and he did it on his last game. Now, this is what still remembers, and this is what's going to stay in the history books of basketball. But very few people will talk about how the insane amount of shots he took to do this. And after the game, there was so much criticism on him taking so many shots and how bad this is, and this makes no sense that he took so many shots, and this is quite bad, and so on. Well, now a year later, this is what people don't think about anymore. They think about him scoring 81 points. And SaveDroid could be very similar in that regard. And that is something that we cannot judge now. We need to wait a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and then reflect. And I think that's quite relevant. Let me know if there's any lesson that you draw out of this. Personally, I would have not pulled it off the way they did, but I'm not them. Everyone should have their own strategy. I think it's going to be reflected later on. So let's see what's going to be the point there. I don't think it served a proper purpose for the ecosystem. I think it's probably going to hurt the ecosystem more than not. Whether it's going to hurt them or not, I think that's going to be a different story, and we're going to have to reflect on this. Simply, why do I think the ecosystem was hurt? Very simple, because that's what the main media presented. And you can look at all the major media outlets. They all talked about the $50 million scam. They didn't talk about the PR stunt anymore, because that doesn't sell as well, right? And that's what is going to be left over. And if I just look at all the media requests that I personally got and I declined to comment on, it was exactly on that point. People only read about the chaos and the nightmare. They didn't read about the PR stunt. And so I can just judge from that. And I'm not quite sure if it was the proper way to pull it off. But here, it happened. Nothing to undo. I think really important also for them as a company. Move forward from them. I think that's all you can do. I think, you know, judging the company right now and kind of trying to undo certain things is impossible. It's really important to learn, get better. And for us as a community, I think it's always good to see what others do bad and try to avoid that, and what others do well, and then do more of that. And so let me know in the comments below what you think about all that. Do you think I'm missing out on anything, or do you think anything is different here? Yeah, would always be very interested. Obviously, running a company myself, these are questions I ask myself a lot, right? Creating attention, how do you do it? I think that's really interesting, and it wouldn't be the way how we at 10x would act. One of our major core values, actually core value number 1, is trust, and we would never kind of play with that. So yeah, let me know what you think. I would be very much looking forward to hearing your input. And if you want to have more of that, follow me on here on my channel. I do all the personal crypto blockchain stuff here on my personal one. On that company channel, I really talk only about 10x. I want to separate those two. That way I can share my own opinion on other things, and which I have, and strong opinions, and but then talk on both things. And subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and with this, see you at the next video. Yours truly, Julian. Bye-bye.